Some of the deadliest waters on Earth look calm, clear, and beautiful. A blue swimming hole in Texas hides a cave system with bodies still trapped inside. A quiet lake in California can kill you without ever touching the water. And in England, there is a narrow stream so harmless looking, you might try to jump across it. Every person who has fallen in has died. Today, we're counting down the top 9 most dangerous waters on Earth. Stay until number 1 because the final place does not look deadly at all, and that is exactly what makes it terrifying. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which scares you more: deep water, invisible gas, or a stream that looks safe. Number 9. Rio Tinto, Spain. This river looks like it belongs on another planet, and in a strange way, scientists think it might help us understand one. In southwestern Spain, a river cuts through the landscape in shades of rust, copper, orange, and deep red. The water does not look blue, it does not look fresh, it looks stained, metallic, and almost alive with color. From above, the river appears like a wound running through the earth. Rio Tinto is famous for its extreme acidity and heavy metal content. Its red color comes from iron and sulfide minerals in the surrounding rock, shaped by natural geology and thousands of years of mining. The river has been influenced by mining activity for millennia. Copper, gold, and silver were extracted from the surrounding region by ancient civilizations and modern operations alike. The source describes Rio Tinto as having a pH of around 2, making it extremely acidic. Most normal aquatic life cannot survive there. No fish, no amphibians, no ordinary river ecosystem. Scientists have studied Rio Tinto because its chemistry resembles environments that may exist beyond Earth. NASA has used it as an analog for possible Martian conditions because if life can survive in acidic, iron-rich water here, it raises questions about where life might survive elsewhere. So this river is dangerous, toxic, and strangely hopeful. It reminds us that life can appear where common sense says it should not. But Rio Tinto at least warns you with its color. The next place looks like a peaceful mountain lake, and its danger is completely invisible. From Spain's red acid river, we move to California, where the water itself is not the real killer. Number 8. Horseshoe Lake, California, USA. At Horseshoe Lake, you do not need to swim, dive, or even touch the water to be in danger. At the base of Mammoth Mountain in California, Horseshoe Lake sits quietly among trees and volcanic terrain. From a distance, it looks like an ordinary alpine lake, but around parts of the lake, the forest tells a different story. Dead trees stand gray and bare, like a warning sign written in wood. The danger at Horseshoe Lake comes from carbon dioxide gas seeping up through volcanic soil. After earthquake activity in the area, CO2 began escaping from underground and pooling near the surface. Because carbon dioxide is heavier than air, it can collect in low places. That means a person can walk into an invisible pocket of gas and suddenly lose oxygen without realizing what is happening. The source states that the soil around Horseshoe Lake emits massive amounts of CO2 each day, and in some depressions, concentrations can become extremely dangerous. The frightening part is that carbon dioxide has no color and no smell. You cannot see it, you cannot smell it, you simply breathe, and the air does not have enough oxygen to keep you conscious. In 2006, 3 members of the Mammoth Mountain Ski Patrol entered a dangerous low-lying area near the lake. All 3 lost consciousness. 2 survived, but 1 died. That story makes Horseshoe Lake especially unsettling. It is not a monster wave, it is not a whirlpool. It is air that looks normal, beside water that looks peaceful. But Horseshoe Lake kills from the air around it. The next water hides its danger underground, inside a cave system that has trapped people forever. From invisible gas in California, we travel to Texas, where a beautiful blue swimming hole opens into a deadly underwater maze. Number 7. Jacob's Well, Texas, USA. From the surface, Jacob's Well looks like the perfect place to jump in. Beneath the surface, it becomes a trap. In Wimberley, Texas, Jacob's Well appears as a round opening of crystal-clear blue water set into pale limestone. Trees surround it. Sunlight hits the surface. On a hot day, it looks calm, clean, and inviting. It does not look like a grave, but below that blue circle is a vertical shaft leading into chambers, tunnels, and dark limestone passages. Jacob's Well is the entrance to an underwater cave system. The first chamber may seem wide and manageable, but deeper passages narrow, branch, twist, and fill with hazards that can confuse even experienced divers. Underwater caves are dangerous because once a diver enters, there is no simple path upward. The way out may be behind them, through narrow openings, and visibility can disappear in seconds if silt gets disturbed. According to the source, at least 12 people have died in the cave system since the 1960s. Some ran out of air. Others became disoriented. One area called the False Chimney can make divers believe they are heading toward an exit when they are actually swimming into a dead end. Some bodies were never recovered because the passages are too narrow and too dangerous for retrieval. That is the part that stays with you. The cave did not just kill, it kept what it took. Jacob's Well remains a place where people swim above the cave mouth, while the deeper sections are restricted. Families still visit. People still look into that clear blue opening. And that contrast is what makes it so disturbing. Above the surface, it is summer. Below the surface, it is a maze. But Jacob's Well is deadly to those who enter its cave. The next place is a hole in the ocean floor with darkness, currents, and military ammunition below. From a Texas swimming hole, we head to Thailand, where a deep underwater pit hides dangers no one has fully mapped. Number 6. Samaesan Hole, Gulf of Thailand. This place is not just deep. It is dark, unstable, and littered with military danger. Off the coast of eastern Thailand, the warm turquoise sea looks ordinary from the surface. Dive boats float above shallow coastal waters. Nothing on the horizon tells you that the seafloor suddenly drops into a dark, circular hole. Below the surface, light fades, the water cools, visibility collapses, and the ocean changes personality. The Samaesan Hole is described in the source as the deepest known point in the Gulf of Thailand, dropping to around 85 meters, while nearby waters are much shallower. For divers, that sudden depth creates serious risk. At depth, pressure increases, light disappears, currents become unpredictable. Temperature layers can disrupt buoyancy and make a diver feel pulled or shifted by invisible forces. The most disturbing detail is not natural. The source says the area was used by the Royal Thai Navy as a munitions disposal site. Old shells and military equipment were dumped into the hole, and some may still be dangerous. That means a diver descending into Samaesan is not just facing depth and darkness. They may be descending toward corroded explosives. Divers have died here, and some incidents are difficult to verify because not every case is publicly recorded. But the pattern is frightening. Experienced divers descend, conditions change, and some do not return. Even a full survey of the bottom is considered dangerous because of depth, visibility, current, and unknown military debris. But Samaesan hides danger at the bottom. The next place pulls divers deeper because the deeper they go, the more dangerous their own mind becomes. From Thailand's dark military dumping ground, we travel to Egypt, where a blue hole in the Red Sea has become one of diving's deadliest legends. We are halfway through, and the most terrifying waters are still ahead. Which one scared you most so far? The Red Acid River, the Invisible Gas Lake, the cave in Texas, or the military hole in Thailand? Drop your answer before we reach number 1. Number 5. Blue Hole, Dahab, Egypt. This place is beautiful, famous, and accessible from shore, and that is part of what makes it deadly. Near Dahab on Egypt's Sinai Peninsula, the blue hole appears as a dark blue circle in the bright turquoise Red Sea. The water is clear, the reef is stunning. From above, it looks like a portal into another world. Divers enter from the shore and descend into blue silence. The walls fall away, the depth becomes harder to judge, and the beauty begins to hide the danger. The blue hole is a submarine sinkhole that drops deep below the surface. Its most dangerous feature is known as the arch, a natural tunnel that connects the inside of the hole to the open sea. The problem is depth. The arch sits below normal recreational diving limits. At that depth, nitrogen narcosis can affect judgment, making divers feel euphoric, confident, or confused when they need to be precise. The source says the blue hole at Dahab has killed an estimated 130 to 200 divers. Some victims were found much deeper than the arch, suggesting they continued descending while impaired. That is one of the most chilling parts. The danger does not always feel like panic. Sometimes it feels like calm. Sometimes it feels like everything is fine, until the air runs out. The underwater walls are marked with memorial plaques for divers who never returned. Other divers pass those memorials on the way down, fully aware of the history beneath them. For many, the blue hole is a dream dive. For others, it became the last place they ever saw. But the blue hole kills individuals in the deep. The next lake holds enough hidden gas to threaten millions. From Egypt's deadly sinkhole, we move to Central Africa, where a beautiful lake sits above an invisible bomb. Number 4. Lake Kivu, Rwanda, and Democratic Republic of Congo. Lake Kivu looks peaceful from the shore, but deep beneath its surface, an enormous volume of gas is trapped under pressure. Lake Kivu stretches along the border of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The shoreline is beautiful. Fishing boats move across the water at dawn. Towns and resorts sit close to the lake. Children play near the shallows. Nothing about the surface says disaster. But below, in the deep layers, carbon dioxide and methane are dissolved in the water like pressure waiting for a trigger. Lake Kivu is dangerous because gases are trapped in its deep water under pressure. As long as the lake layers remain stable, the gas stays dissolved. But if those layers were disturbed in the wrong way, the gas could potentially rise and escape. This kind of event is called a Limnic eruption. It is rare, but when it happens, the result can be catastrophic. The source says Lake Kivu contains around 300 cubic kilometers of dissolved carbon dioxide and 60 cubic kilometers of methane. It also notes that roughly 2 million people live within the lake's immediate basin. That means this is not only a natural hazard, it is a human risk on a massive scale. The fear is based on history. A smaller volcanic lake, Lake Nyos in Cameroon, released a deadly cloud of CO2 in 1986 and killed 1,746 people. Lake Kivu is far larger and contains far more dissolved gas. Rwanda has used methane extraction platforms to remove gas and produce electricity, which could reduce risk while creating power. But the question remains haunting. Is extraction happening fast enough? But Lake Kivu is dangerous because of what might happen. The next water is dangerous because it has already been swallowing ships for centuries. From a gas-filled African lake, we travel to the Southern Ocean, where 3 oceans collide in one of the roughest passages on Earth. Number 3. Drake Passage, Southern Ocean. This is not a lake, river, or swimming hole. This is 800 kilometers of open ocean with no mercy and almost nowhere to hide. Between the southern tip of South America and Antarctica lies the Drake Passage. Gray water rolls under gray sky. Winds tear across the surface. Waves rise like moving walls. Ships climb, drop, roll, and slam through water that seems to attack from every direction. There is no land to break the waves, no island to block the wind. Just ocean, storm, and cold. The Drake Passage is dangerous because powerful ocean systems are forced through a narrow gap between continents. The Antarctic Circumpolar Current moves around Antarctica, and in this passage, it flows with enormous force through open water. The winds are also brutal. With no landmass to slow them down, storms can build massive waves quickly. The source describes waves in the Drake Passage routinely exceeding 10 meters, with storms pushing them higher. Winds can become extreme, and crossings can shift from calm to violent in a matter of hours. Sailors even have names for the 2 moods of the passage: the Drake Lake, when it is strangely calm, and the Drake Shake, when the ocean turns savage. For centuries, ships have crossed the Drake Passage on routes toward Antarctica. Research vessels, supply ships, and tourist expeditions still have to face it. Maritime history includes countless stories of ships damaged, battered, or lost in these waters. Even modern ships with advanced technology cannot control which version of the Drake they will meet. They can only prepare. But the Drake Passage announces its violence with waves and wind. The next lake killed people in total silence while they slept. From the stormy gateway to Antarctica, we return to Africa, where a calm volcanic lake became the scene of one of the strangest disasters in modern history. Number 2. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. On one ordinary night in 1986, this lake killed 1,746 people without fire, flood, explosion, or warning. Lake Nyos sits in a volcanic crater in northwestern Cameroon. The water is still, the surrounding hills are quiet. Villages once stood nearby, with farmers, families, children, and livestock living under the shadow of a lake that seemed harmless. Then, one night, the danger rose from the deep, not as a wave, not as smoke, as an invisible cloud. Lake Nyos sits above volcanic sources that release carbon dioxide into the deep water. For years, the gas dissolved under pressure in the bottom layers of the lake. Then something disturbed the water layers. The pressure changed. The CO2 erupted from the lake in a massive cloud. Because carbon dioxide is heavier than air, it can collect in low places. That means a person can walk into an invisible pocket of gas and suddenly lose oxygen without realizing what is happening. According to the source, around 1.6 million tons of CO2 were released. People and animals breathing at ground level lost consciousness quickly and died within minutes. Many victims died in their sleep. The silence is what makes this disaster horrifying. No warning, no scream, no time to run, just oxygen disappearing from the air. By morning, 1,746 people were dead, along with livestock and animals across the affected area. Survivors were often those who lived on higher ground, above the path of the gas cloud. Afterward, engineers installed degassing pipes to release CO2 from the lake in controlled amounts. The system reduced the risk, but the story of Lake Nyos remains one of the most chilling examples of hidden danger in water. Lake Nyos was deadly because no one saw the danger coming. But number 1 may be even more disturbing because people can see it, walk beside it, and still underestimate it. For number 1, we go to England, where the deadliest looking water on this list is not a stormy ocean or volcanic lake. It is a quiet stream in the countryside. Number 1 is the Bolton Strid in Yorkshire, England, a narrow stretch of water so deceptive that it looks like a stream you could jump across. But according to the source, everyone who has fallen into it has died. In the Yorkshire Dales near Bolton Abbey, the River Wharfe flows through green countryside, mossy stones, overhanging trees, and peaceful walking paths. The scene looks like something from an old English painting. Then the river suddenly narrows. What was once wide and gentle compresses into a channel barely a few feet across. The water rushes between rocks. The banks are close together. The surface looks small, dark, and almost harmless. A visitor standing there might think, I could step across that. And that thought is the trap. But water does not care how it looks from the bank. The Bolton Strid is dangerous because the river has not simply become smaller. It has turned downward. From a peaceful countryside walk, we go beneath the surface of the most deceptive water on Earth. The Bolton Strid is dangerous because the river has not simply become smaller. It has turned downward. Upstream, the River Wharfe spreads across a wider bed. At the Strid, the same volume of water is forced through a narrow limestone channel. Instead of spreading across the surface, the water drops into a deep underwater system of caves, tunnels, ledges, and violent currents. From above, it looks like a stream. Below the surface, it behaves like a drowning machine. The current can pull a person under instantly. Once inside, the underwater rock formations can trap the body against ledges or force it into spaces where escape becomes impossible. That is why the Bolton Strid is so terrifying. It does not look like the kind of water that should kill anyone. It looks like the kind of place where someone might bring children on a Sunday walk. The source describes the Strid as having a 100% fatality rate for those who have fallen in. Bodies do not always surface downstream. Some have taken days to recover, and others may never have been found. There is even an old historical account connected to the Strid from 1154, involving William de Romilly, the son of a local lord, who reportedly tried to leap across the gap and fell in. His body was never recovered. That was centuries ago, and the legend around the Strid has not softened. The water has a reputation for not giving back what it takes. Bolton Strid matters because it destroys one of the most dangerous assumptions humans make. If it looks small, it must be safe. But water does not care how it looks from the bank. A narrow surface can hide enormous depth. A calm-looking channel can hide violent force. A beautiful path can lead beside something lethal. This is why Bolton Strid earns the #1 spot. Not because it is the biggest, not because it has the tallest waves, not because it can threaten millions like Lake Kivu, but because it is the most deceptive. The danger is not announced, it is disguised. That is what makes the Bolton Strid so haunting. You do not need a ship. You do not need diving gear. You only need one careless step on a wet rock, one slip, one moment of overconfidence, and a stream that looked harmless becomes a place with no second chances. The most dangerous waters on Earth are not always the loudest. Sometimes they are quiet. Sometimes they are beautiful. Sometimes they are narrow enough to jump across. And sometimes that is exactly why they kill. Water covers most of our planet, but it is not always the safe, familiar thing we think it is. Some waters hide caves. Some hide gas. Some hide acid, currents, pressure, explosives, storms, or entire volcanic disasters waiting under the surface. And sometimes the most dangerous water is not the largest or the loudest, it is the one that looks harmless. From Rio Tinto's red acid flow and Jacob's Well's underwater maze to Lake Nyos, the Drake Passage, and the quiet terror of Bolton Strid, these places remind us of one thing: never trust water just because it looks calm. Which one scared you the most? Would you rather face the Drake Passage, dive near the Blue Hole, or stand beside Bolton Strid? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed documentary-style rankings about extreme places, natural mysteries, and dangerous wonders of Earth, subscribe for more. In the next video, we'll explore the most dangerous roads humans still travel every day.